Does a certain piece of music take you right back to where you heard it? Can you remember who you were with, where you were, or what was going on in your life at the time? This is Crag and my guest today, Jamie. And we're talking about music heard someplace, somewhere, and the personal stories that come along with the music that soundtracks our lives. We're here on Wednesdays from 11 to 1 on 94.9 Main FM, and we're proudly sponsored by Five Flags Merchants and Campbell's Creek. This is Someplace Somewhere on 94.9 Main FM. You're here with Craig and my very special guest today, Jamie Lee. And we're doing this a bit last minute because I've been down in the city for the first time in a while, and Jamie's in Shepperton, and so we haven't really had much time to prepare. Just so yeah, I'll let Jamie introduce herself. She's a very good public
Thanks, Craig.
speaker.
I think I'm very well practiced after 20 years of doing this, but I just want to say thank you so much for having me also. And yeah, I'm from 3630, born and bred, but moved around quite a lot when I was younger. And I am living here on Yorta Yorta country with my husband and my two kids. And my whole life has really been musically obsessed, but I am currently the creative director and I guess owner operator of JL Productions and Hire. We specialize in large live music events or small boutique musical experiences, but we also do a little bit of everything when it comes to styling and hire. My intense passion is sustainability. So our entire warehouse is full of vintage, retro, one of a kind pieces that I've been pop shopping, buy swap and selling, garage sailing, or hard rubbish collecting for the last 20 years. So I'm really, really proud of our warehouse of treasures, but my heart is always on site delivering events. And I've worked everywhere from Splendor to Meredith, Tassie Falls Festival, uh, Riverboats Music Festival just down the road in Echuca. And yeah, I'm not too sure where the industry's headed right now, Craig, but I hope that my final moment on this earth is on site doing what I love and I'm struck by lightning. And that's how I go out.
Yeah. And I've always admired you for your passion for all that. Like I really have, like sincerely. We've known each other a few years now. And yeah, there's a few people at the station here in Castlemaine that you'll know. Um that have shows. Program director Rich Moffat, you probably know him. You probably know Fiona Allen. You probably know my next door neighbor as well,
Oh,
Sally.
wow. Oh,
Sally,
is that really your neighbor?
right next door, Sally Mortensen. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I
That
don't
is
think she
that. Well,
listens to the show, but
I hope you know that Sally's an amazing musician. Like she's a phenomenal singer. Has she told you that?
no, she was inquiring about moving to this suburbia where I live in Castlemaine and put it out there, and I was like I gave an opinion, and I said, "Oh, all right, we became Facebook friends or whatever," and it's like, oh yeah, we've got a mutual friend. We had a couple of mutual friends, but you were one of them. And she said, "Oh, you must be a muso or whatever kind of thing." But yeah, she's probably heard me wailing, but I've not heard her wailing. It's got four bloody kids.
Yeah, she does have four bloody kids. Like,
Yeah,
wow, two's more than enough for me. But Sally was in a band called Aluka, who
yeah.
are one of my all-time favorites. And I shouldn't even say band; they were a three-part harmony
Mm.
group, a cappella group, and they were actually the backup singers for Claire Bowditch on tours and shows all around the country. And uh, I've actually had them play at Live at the Dookie Quarry, which is my passion. So that's called Grounded, Live at the Dookie Quarry. And
Yep, I was
just
there with you.
yeah, yeah. And one of the songs that I have chosen on the extended list is "The Most Beautiful Lies" by Claire Bowditch, and they're actually on YouTube doing the live version of it. And I still listen to it even after all these years because it's so stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, it's a bloody small world, isn't it? 1 degree of
Yeah.
separation. I always find that when I have guests on the radio. It's I don't think Sally listens to my show or anything like that, but the window I'm sitting at right now when we're recording, pushing the kids along. I've started going out there with the brush because there's like a tree that was like dumping like seeds or something. And our kids have got like little scooters and stuff like that. So I've been going out there and sweeping it. But yeah. I'll I'll let her know that you're going to be on tomorrow. 'Cause that's
Yeah, cool.
like I say, 1 degree of separation. So we opened
Love
up
it.
there with so as is the format of the show, I asked my guests to give us 10 songs that you have a yarn about. And that's imagine that would be almost impossible for you, but you opened up with Neil Young there. What's the
Oh,
story? I'm always interested in the first choice because it's the opener, you know?
yeah,
It's
it
like
wasn't hard. I didn't this is going to sound kind of corny, but every person of the opposite sex that I've loved and had a relationship with
yeah.
has shown me a band that significantly changed the way my brain functions and the chemicals that move through my brain. And my husband is Scottish, as you know, and one of his favorite things to do is sit around the campfire and sing songs. And it's just like second nature to us in any social situation that we have. The guitar always comes out every time. It's like it's in the Scottish DNA to just share song and share story.
And that's
And
another 1 degree of separation as well, because he used to play in Fat Goth, who I
that's
put on back in the day in Scotland. And then lo and behold,
yeah,
Shepperton.
he comes all the way to Sheppo and gets married. So
Mad.
we went to a concert. Yeah, his parents are here, his mum and stepdad, and that's how we met. Blah blah blah. But we went to a concert. We went to Day on the Green, and it was to see Neil Young. And the weather was atrocious. It was awful. And I mean, I am, I guess, what you could call a bit of a sook when it comes to the weather, even though 90% of my job is working outdoors. But when I'm paying money to go to another show, I want the experience that all the regular attendees want, which is perfect weather, perfect experience, the deluxe version of any like kind of concert. And it, I hate the rain, I hate the wind. It's just, I was shivering to death, soaking like a drowned rat. Neil Young was just smashing out every single song, and the rain's getting worse and worse. And then the wind changed, and the direct like rain was going directly on Neil Young and his whole band, and they were just loving it. Like it's like the energy completely shifted of the concert, and I still have never experienced anything like that gig. And I just stood
What year
there.
was this? What kind of era was he? Or was he playing the
I
playing the hits?
Oh yeah, he was playing the hits, but it was, I feel like we didn't have any kids, so I'm going to say 10 years ago. Um, and there was just a moment of the show where like it didn't matter how cold and wet and soaking I was. It was just such an unbelievable moment to be standing there watching one of the greats, one of the all-time greats, doing what he was born to do and doing it in those really extreme conditions.
Hmm.
But the other side of that memory and that moment was that my Scottish mother-in-law, who I love dearly, had a gutful of alcohol. Again, not to not to not to be offensive to anybody listening, but I feel like the Scottish just are also really good at sharing songs and singing and performing and writing, but also sinking piss. And
Yeah.
all these people are exiting, like the masses are just like a wave of piss poor Australians, just like, oh, where, it's raining, and my mother-in-law is going, this isn't rain. You don't even know what rain is. And she's like abusing all these people as they're leaving. That meant that we could get closer and closer to the stage. But just the disgust that my mother-in-law had for all of these patrons who were leaving in their droves because they were leaving Neil Young. Like she was
Yeah.
just like completely baffled as to why the rain or why the cold would make anybody leave. And, my husband said to me later on, he's like, well, in Scotland, you don't have a choice. Like
Yeah, this rain isn't
90% of the time,
even the rain isn't even sideways because the rain does go sideways. You've been to Scotland a few times, haven't you?
I have, and I've never felt cold like it. But that particular concert, just just the respect and the admiration she had for Neil Young, and then these people leaving, they just copped abuse from this random Scottish woman, and it's just one of my favorite memories of her. But also, as a family, like going to that concert, but
Yeah.
like altering the chemistry in my brain, watching Neil Young, play like a hurricane.
Mm.
Which I nearly chose. I nearly chose Like a Hurricane, but I actually went with this one because it's one of husband's favorites to sing and it
Yeah,
makes me happy.
needle and damage done. And yeah. So how did that all come about? So obviously I'll ask you a bit about your time in Scotland and all the rest of it. But when did you meet hubby Alan? How did that
So
come
his
about?
brother, yeah, his brother's a musician, so the whole family's quite musically talented. And when I was a teenager, there was a party at one of the local pubs, and I went along to it. And I'd moved a lot as a child, but hadn't really left regional Victoria. And I go out on the balcony to have a cigarette because back then I was a filthy smoker, and
Filthy, filthy, filthy.
filthy, filthy. I just you know I will very openly admit that I have did smoke for a very very long time, but uh, went out to the balcony, and there was this random accent that my tiny tiny small town brain exploded, and I was like, "Who are you? Where are you from? What's going on? I can't understand a word you're saying." And I introduced him to all our friends, and that was it. That was the beginning of that story, and we were like 16, um, and his name was Andy, and like beautiful songwriter and performer. And then met his family, and we spent all of our summers, or pretty much any of our spare time around at his house because his parents would let us drink. But um, I'm totally dobbing my in-laws in here, but we had a really safe, comfortable those teenage years because we were in quite a comfortable environment. But um, we all looked out for each other, and we had that safe space. Anyway, years later, when my then partner and I broke up, husband, I call him husband. That is not a disrespectful term whatsoever. It's just my mother-in-law named her second child Alan, and I just don't think it suits him. So he came over to the country, and we went to the Falls Festival together. We went on a road trip, and I didn't really pay any attention. And then he came back a few more years later, and that was kind of it. We got married after, I think it was not even 12 months to keep him in the country because
Mhm.
at that time, gay marriage wasn't legal. And to me, that was just unbelievable. So we got married to keep him in the country, and 12 years later, here we are.
Yeah, it's some coincidence there as well. My wife's name is Rachel, and I call her the egg. Suits her better. But her brother and his wife they got married but didn't get married in Melbourne, and then when gay marriage was allowed, and they got married properly in New York, so they kind of put it off. So it was, yeah, it was kind of a coinky dink. But yeah, did he have hair then, Alan?
No, he did not, and he never will. And I'm very grateful for that because the photos I've seen are, yeah, nah, I'm good. He's aging like a fine wine right now.
Yeah, yeah. So that probably leads us on to your next choice, because when you're talking about hair, your next choice is the getaway plan. And I've had more hair don'ts than hair do's in my time. And I was probably kicking around the same circles as Alan back then with some questionable hair don'ts. Was he
Look,
in
we're
that
all guilty of it.
emo stage?
I used to have black dreadlocks and my eyebrow pierced and my chin pierced and my tongue pierced. And yeah, I went through a very hardcore emo. I don't think I was hardcore enough for goth. Probably thought I was a goth. And I
Mm.
probably looked like one of the most alternative people that had ever walked the streets of Shepparton. But uh, yeah, I was pretty emo for a second there. And then there's a couple of songs after that where I completely transitioned into the kind of folky. Um, we called ourselves hippies, but the kind of alternative folky indie person that I was for a long time, and now I'm just very happy in my soft rock space.
So, how old are you nowadays, if you don't mind me
I
asking?
just turned 35.
All right, so you're but a child, um, compared to me, but because I was really in that emo, I was in that zone like completely. Um, this is the medium of radio, but I've got my. It looks like I'm like Nelly or something, but it's just because I've had a eyebrow piercing ripped out. I've had nipple piercings ripped out. Oh, yep, you show me you've got the same. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
From crowd surfing and doing all weird backflips off stages and breaking barriers, literal barriers. There's many a lore of my emo days. But I was more metal, I guess. But I hadn't heard this band, The Getaway Plan. It's where the city meets the sea.
If I've
Um,
learned
we'll get
anything
that on
from
now, and you can
this,
tell us
it
why
would
you chose
all
it.
begun, it would all
Just after
begun.
that. This is someplace somewhere on a fine, cloudy Wednesday night. You're here with Crag and Jamie Lee, and that was The Getaway Plan and Where the City Meets the Sea. A band I wasn't familiar with. We're talking about how I was a big emo, or a wee emo in my case. Um, but what a singer. Really great singer. There's a few of them. Why did you go for that one?
Oh, I'm a really sentimental person. I am a hoarder, hence the entire warehouse of sustainable, pre-loved treasures that I have collected over the last 20 years. And I will happily admit that I just transformed my hoarding into a higher business. I'm not ashamed of that at all. It's probably the best thing I could have done. But when it comes to my sentimentality, songs are a really big part of that and the memories that are attached to them. And I didn't really get into the Getaway Plan when they were out. I was pretty obsessed with like AFI or The Used or Atreyu, and like I was a bit maybe like like in a silo of like the bands that I liked, and I wasn't
Yeah.
kind of looking for anything new. I just was really obsessed with what I was obsessed with. And my high school sweetheart and I, we're still really, really good friends. And he lives in America now. And we started a playlist over Spotify, which is like the beautiful thing, the absolute, beauty of technology and
Yeah.
the internet. And we've been doing this thing for the last couple of years where we go one for one. So he adds a song, I had a song, he adds a song, I had a song. And he added this song. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay. So, you kind of like every couple of months, it's a slow process. We might as well be sending snail mail to each other, but every so often I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to the playlist. And it got to this song, and I was just like, this is a banger. I hate myself for being such a music snob back then.
Yeah.
And when my Spotify playlist like did that end of the year thing, it
Hmm.
was like the song that I'd listened to the most. I love singing it. Like I probably didn't mention that, but in my spare time, I'm a bit of a singer. I wouldn't say I'm anything close to Sally, by the way. Like just giving her another shout out. But in Shep, you know, generationally, there was just something in the water of that time when Sal and I were growing up, and there's just so many stupidly talented people, in regional Victoria in general, like full credit and love to everybody. But my obsession is definitely the Golden Valley. And it was a hard time to be a musician back then, that like,
Yeah.
because everybody just blew me away. But getting back to this song, I have really like gone back through the songs of that time. And again, it comes from that sentimentality. And I think generationally too, we're all just getting to that age where we love to listen to what we've listened to back then. So, I've started an emo playlist and just really getting back into that stuff and deep diving into those artists that I loved even more now, because it's so available and it's so easy to do that. And this song, like the progression, the chords, the melody, the tone of his voice, the emotion in how he delivers the song. Like as I said, the first couple of times I heard it, I wasn't that into it, but when I listened to it in a different light for a different reason, it just really hit me. And I was listening to it this morning because it's also a banger. Like it's just a solid song, and I need to respect that. So even though, like, I was talking to my husband about this tonight and he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. It's now got a place in my heart, that song. Yeah. It's got a place in my heart for lots of sentimental reasons, but because of that sharing. And I love that about being a human. I love that about relationships and friendships and people you meet. You can share songs and get a completely different perspective on it.
But you're old enough now that you kind of don't have any shame. You're just like, that's what I like. It's like, like when I look at most festivals now, like I hardly know anyone on the bill kind of thing, because I'm still listening to old school stuff like that. Let's start a wee playlist between us two. That would be good. My I kind of missed a Paramore boat. Um, but
Same.
my most listened to song, as the Spotify told me, was "Ain't It Fun" by Paramore, which is a bloody masterpiece. And the year before that was Taylor Swift, and it was the Evermore album or whatever, the kind of, and I was like, that's the thing I listened to most that year, kind of thing, because I have to listen to a lot of music to do this show, kind of thing, because people bring me the music, and and I have my own playlists that go for like literal days. Um, and yeah, it was Paramore and Taylor Swift, and I'm like, I'm not a Paramore Taylor Swift guy, but apparently I am. So, but yeah,
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said, like, we don't have, like, there was this thing as a teenager that I know for me, my deep obsession of music when I was a teenager, it was the thing that kept me alive, and it kept me like feeling like I had some kind of fire in my belly. It was the thing that I had such a like
It's
ravenous
important.
hunger for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I was such a music snob, and I agree with you. I don't have any shame or like embarrassment now. I just, I was listening to like
Yeah.
Stained today. I was listening to Hootie and the Blowfish, like all of these bands, because all I want to feel now is feelings. And I want to, remember stuff or like sing. I want to sing along to the songs that are going to like stir something inside of me. Whereas, back in the day, it was just like me wearing no shoes and no bra and having messy, disgusting dreadlocks and thinking I was like so alternative, dancing to Xavier Rudd. Like, you know what I mean?
So like we talked about how I wasn't going to add any tunes in today, but after that, um I'm going to add in some Matchbox 20. That is like, I have like Yourself or Someone Like You, which is from 1996. You would have been a child or something. But
Crag,
I'm just going to stick in some Matchbox 20.
I nearly put Matchbox 20 on my list.
What song
I
was it
was
going to be?
3 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever it is.
Yep, I'm gonna go, because you've said it. Um, I'm gonna go with 3M. I was going to put in Busted, but whatever.
Oh,
But talking about guitar and sitting around the campfire, Hang, the last track on the album. Yourself or Someone Like You. That was my wooing song. Uh uh maybe I should play that. But yeah, that
Do
was
it.
uh but 3M's great. But no, let's play Hang. And get Alan to play it. You're a singer yourself. When did that start for you? Or was there a turning point when you went, "Hey, I can really sing"?
Oh, it's a hard question to answer because I rem I don't have a lot of good memories of my childhood necessarily, but I remember learning Killing Me Softly. Yeah, and I must have been like grade 6, and I went out like to see my dad because my mother and I rarely spoke, and if we did, it wasn't great. So I went out and I'd printed the lyrics at school, and that was a really big deal. And I said, like, I want to sing this song. I can't get it out of my head, and I want to sing this. And so I stood there in front of my dad, and I sung the whole thing from start to finish. And I said,
Mhm.
Dad, I really, really want singing lessons. And I knew that I was probably asking a ridiculous question, but you have these weird. Oh God, I would never be a child, let alone a teenager again. My God, like the brain thoughts that you have are kind of, and those you're like imagining your future and pretending that maybe you've got this like possibility of being some kind of superstar.
Yeah.
And I remember saying I really want singing lessons, and my dad just had the most sad, kind of disappointed look on his face, and he was like, "Can't, like, that's not going to happen." And I think he could tell how desperately I wanted him, but I used to wonder a lot what my life would have been like if I'd had those opportunities because I can't read music and I struggle to play an instrument. And I know lots of people have self-taught, and I'm not saying that I couldn't have done that, but I just didn't really have the support or encouragement early on. And then by the time that I knew I could actually sing and was in like had the opportunities and the like people facilitated those experiences, I was distracted and I'd already left home at 15. So, sometimes in the year I had 3 jobs, or I was doing school production, or I was in a band, or um, yeah, I was filling my time with so much other stuff, and my priorities had shifted, and I really tried to focus on my like vocal ability. And I would say to anybody that's listening, and no matter how old you are or what your talents are, if it makes you happy and you enjoy doing it, whatever that musical outlet is, then just do it. Because I sang when I was younger. I had a lot of time on my own, and so I sang when I was young because it helped pass the time and it made me feel good. They talk about like releasing endorphins, and just singing is like actually good for your brain. But for me, it was so therapeutic, and it was quite the quite the outlet to just say all the things I wanted to say as an angry child slash angry
Mhm.
teenager, that I didn't necessarily have the vocabulary to do. Um, but I now make the time and the effort and find the money for my daughter to have like piano lessons, and she doesn't really show that much of an interest in it, and that
It's
disappoints me
yeah.
in so many different ways. But I know that if she learns, at least she can use it in the future. Whereas if I just didn't get that chance. And
Yeah.
looking back on it, it is what it is. But I do wonder what my life had been like. So yeah, singing for me was something that saved me. And then once I moved out of home, I got the lead role in school production, and people would say to me, you can sing. And I knew that I sounded exactly like the radio. I knew I could copy the radio
Mhm.
perfectly, and I would kind of doubt myself and be like, but can I? But can I? But I practiced and practiced, and like it was because we didn't have a CD player or anything like that. I would sit by the radio and just like wait for the song that I really wanted to hear to come on. And
Yeah.
um, I remember I had the radio on like late at night. I think it was a school night, and I kind of was humming, and then I was singing, and then I got really carried away. I think it was like Big Matt's like top 40 or something. I can't remember exactly. And my mother came in and threw the radio against the wall and told me to shut the F up. I can't, you can't sing, shut the F up. And I was so sad because I thought, I know I can sing. So once I moved out of home and kind of had that extra support, that it opened doors for me and changed my life. So music was the thing that motivated me and was the one thing that I was good, like I knew I was good at. And
Yeah.
then after that, that's when I started doing events because I knew I wasn't necessarily good enough to take it all the way. And that was my brain maybe playing tricks on me. But once I started stage managing and organizing the gigs, that's kind of how I fell into event management pubs and
Mm.
doing all the stuff. And he was like,
One
oh, folk
singer,
music.
one
Oh, yeah.
song. Sorry,
Yeah.
he'll
But
appreciate that.
I'm sure he will. He's probably listening from the bedroom, but like he said he was like he hated it, hated folk music, couldn't stand it.
Mhm.
There was instruments all around the house, but he was like, no, bass and metal and like punk or like whatever, that all that kind of stuff, but he wasn't really into folk. And then as he kind of got older and developed his taste for music developed, and then that connection between him and his mother happened over music, and he was just like, oh. And now, some of my favorite times are sitting around with his mum and his stepdad, and his stepdad's playing the harmonica, or his mum's on the acoustic, husband's on the acoustic, and they're just singing these like beautiful, beautiful songs that I would never have heard in my life if I hadn't married somebody from overseas to then
Yeah.
learn about all these beautiful tales. And
He
and
comes from
there's
a
and
massive breeding ground of not just folk music, but alternative music and like a massive breeding ground, especially that area. Like
yeah,
it's quite outstanding. Which can be said for Scotland, in general. The amount of stuff that comes out. There's more people in Melbourne than the whole of Scotland. Like I think I don't know. Quote me on
no,
that.
that's yeah, that's right. Yeah.
0488863186. People like to correct me on my facts, but you've been over a few times. How did you take to the motherland? I think you fit in really well over there.
Do you know
Just
what I'm so grateful for the opportunity. As I said, like moving out of home quite young and having, the kind of low socioeconomic background that I have and not having those opportunities ever. I never imagined I would ever go overseas, let alone multiple times. And, if I had a choice, would I go to Scotland all the time? No, not at all. We're so close to like Italy or Paris or other places, but
New
it,
Caledonia.
but it's so sweet to connect with his friends and family in the place that is home for him. And you're right, the music scene's amazing, and all his friends are so talented, and they're really good people. And I can understand why half of his heart is here and half of it's in
Yeah.
Australia. I really give credit to people like yourself who've left the homeland and make a new start and make this fresh space and life and family for themselves. And as I said, I was born in Shep and I moved a lot, but I do know that I am incredibly blessed to have the village that I do have and people that I've known, most of my life. And there's a comfort to that. There's also I feel like a laziness too, because a lot of my friends and very special adopted family are from overseas. And I love that about our region, and I love that about marrying a man from Scotland, because I just don't know if I would have had the capacity or the confidence maybe to connect with people from all around the world. And in Shepparton, I think just some knowledge for the listeners. There's like 28 languages spoken in Shepparton, and we have,
Yeah.
I think it's like 17 different places of worship. Like it's the multiculturalism here is the best part, I think, about living here.
You're sticking to your guns. Of course, it's you've got family there. You grew up there. Yeah. You seem a very proud person, and you do a lot for where you're from. And that's something I very much admire about you. Always have since I've known you, kind of thing. I know you kind of had some, you know, upbringing wasn't perfect, but your commitment to where you're from and trying to kind of shift that paradigm is something I've always admired about you. Is that something
Thank
that's
you.
going to continue, do you think?
Well, like going back to the last question, which I did not answer, and I apologize. I go on
It's all
tangents
right.
often. No, I go to Scotland, and I most the times I have been before the last time, I've always been like, oh, why do people live here, and why doesn't everybody just move to Australia? And um, it, I think the place is beautiful, and I think the history's also to a point beautiful, but I don't cope very well with the cold, and I don't cope well with grey. And I think, again, living regionally, we're so privileged to have. I mean, I feel like in Shep, you can nearly look anywhere and see gum trees in the bush, or you can hear cockatiels, or uh, you know, at least get close enough to the river or some kind of waterway, and you don't realize that until you're somewhere else. The most times I've been to Scotland, I I don't know, I just feel there's like sometimes a heaviness that I can't explain, and most people I talk to comment about the heaviness and
Mm.
the weather and that kind of stuff. But the last time we went, I was having a bit of a rough like mental health patch, and I kind of said to husband, we could just stay here. Maybe we just stay in Scotland. And he was like, you have completely lost your marbles. This is the point of no return. I think you've snapped. What did you just say to me? And I was like, I don't want to go home. And so the second part of your question, I am and always have felt really grateful and like I owed something to the
Mhm.
to the town, because my morbid brain tells me that I could have gone left or I could have gone right. And if I hadn't have found music and the Shepparton Theatre Arts Group and productions and gigs and festivals and the artistic and creative community of the region, then maybe I would have had a very different last 20 years of my life. But I think after 20 years of of hardcore commitment and volunteering and doing everything I possibly can to contribute, I'm pretty burnt out, and I am a bit tired because I can see all of those phenomenal humans, and every regional town is made up of exceptional people who continuously push and work as hard as they can to make a difference. And all of those people deserve, a gold statue, because it is a
Well,
thankless task.
yeah, you're
And
talking
sometimes
here
it,
today on Main FM, and there's like 100 volunteer presenters here who put in all that work, for
yeah,
yeah, no real reward, no financial reward or anything like that, but it's for the love of it. It's
it is for the love of it. And it's like, that saying, that old school saying about like plant a tree even though you're not going to get the shade.
yeah,
And so all of these people and the Shepparton Arts Festival is a great example, one of the longest running regional festivals in Australia, let alone Victoria. But it's been going for 28 years, and I'm 35, and
yeah.
I've grown up singing and performing and styling and volunteering and programming the stages, and really polishing my craft and getting these experiences in my backyard. And you can't like dispute the fact that there's not that many other regional places with such a crappy reputation like Shepparton, and a lot of the time a pretty crappy attitude. It always boggles my brain to like think that there we're a town that had a huge say in the no vote. And I live in a town that voted no, like the majority voted no, and it just blows me away. And I guess what I'm saying is I've always been really proud. I've always been really dedicated because I felt like I owed the place for keeping me on the straight and narrow. But after 20 years, I'm like, actually, I don't know that I owe anyone or anything anymore. I think I've done my bit. That's not to say that I'm not going to keep doing what I do and what I love, but
You're just a bit ashamed.
no, I think it's more, I think this is my year to say no to some things and to not say yes all the time and to not go above and beyond because, you know, my children are reaching pretty crucial ages. Like Dempsey's 10, she's going to be a teenager soon, and Finn is 6. And I've spent all of Dempsey's life working full time, actually more than full time, working weekends, sacrificing special dates and occasions because the community comes first. The community comes first, and it's music and events and what I do. It was the way that I could contribute. You know, I'm not a chef. I can't cook meals for the homeless, and I'm not super strong in working in the CFA fighting fires for a week at a time, but I can bring people together with events and music. And I am just going to take this year to kind of regroup and connect with my family and make sure that they know who I am, for starters. So I'm not at work all the time, but also just making sure I don't completely burn myself out because COVID took a real toll. And I think I'm only just feeling it now.
Yeah, it's Shep's a unique place. I've spent my time there with you doing some stuff and different from Castlemaine. Didn't have the gold rush kind of thing. So Castlemaine here, as you know, it's like got lots of history and architecture and it looks beautiful and all that kind of thing, where Shepperton doesn't really have that. It's even like Bendigo has that. Just because of the gold rush, you didn't have it there. You're talking about events, the your Secret Garden gigs. I think that was so our mutual friend Tim told me about you because I used to do similar things like these kind of guerrilla gigs and pop-up things and all that. And so do you want to talk about the Secret Garden gigs? Because cool as hell.
Yeah, I love the Secret Garden gigs. But funny fact, the legislation changed recently where even if you do a gig on private property, so like a Secret Garden gig for the listeners is where we utilize people's backyards, verandas, big, beautiful wool sheds and whatnot. And we don't tell anyone the address. We don't tell anyone who's playing. We put tickets on sale on our website, the Secret Garden Gigs, and it's a trust and faith and belief in our programming and our vibe creation. We've been doing them for about 10 years, and we've been all over regional Victoria and had the most exceptional experiences, like just pinch me moments where I think I can't believe how lucky I am. And for me, it's never, the music industry, the arts industry definitely isn't about the money. So we did it because we could and we felt like we should. And we also wanted to promote and facilitate the opportunities, but the talent of the creatives. And it's going back to what I was saying to you before, Craig, like so many people I know are so talented that I was just like, if I don't make a gig for them, when are they going to sing? And so I've just had the most incredible privilege of watching these people, play their own original songs and really connect and touch audiences in a really intimate, unique space. So, but yeah, funny fact is that we've been doing these gigs without paperwork necessarily submitted to councils. Like you could just do them, and we've got our public liability. We're insured to the yin yang, but we do everything right. We tick all the boxes. We're first aid qualified, RSAs, risk assessments, all that kind of stuff. So we're legit, like JL Productions and Hire. We do what we do and we do it properly. But because we're on private property, we didn't have to submit a POPE, which is a permit of public entertainment. And now we do. And a POPE is like, depending on your council, anywhere between $350 to $500. And we haven't been doing as many Secret Garden gigs as what we'd like, because once you pay that application fee to the council, or you spend the hours and hours doing the documentation, because even though in some ways it is rinse and repeat, and anybody out there who does events, you've got your templates and you've got all the information that you need, and you can kind of recite it, but
Mm-hmm.
you still have to be thorough, and you still have to do things to the best of your ability. And once you've either paid staff or used your own time, or you've submitted the paperwork and you've paid the fee, that little tiny bit of money that we made as a team, I collaborate with HD Audio, or HD Productions, I should say, and I didn't mind being able to shout everybody pizza, or pay my warehouse crew to set up and pack down, but now it's just like not sustainable. It's not feasible. So if we flipped our model and we asked the owners of the property, like these people that can fit 120 to 150 people in their backyard, to then pay the $500 give or take fee, then we would consider doing them. But then at the same time, we don't want to do that. That's kind of the point. It was about the hosts opening up their doors and having this really wonderful opportunity to create experiences, but create community and make friends.
So
and
because we're on radio, so it's not a visual medium kind of thing, but I know exactly. If anyone out there wants to look up Secret Garden Gigs Shepperton, beautiful, like Jamie said, the it's using people's backyards and verandas and all the rest of it, and really using your op shopping to really create like weird lamps and rugs and chairs and knickknacks and doodads, and I don't know, how would you describe it, and what would your favorite one you've ever done been?
Oh, we just go extra. We really go extra. And some backyards don't need a lot. We just kind of complement the space.
Yeah.
And some backyards are really simplistic, which is also great. And we go level 10. So I've got about 200 and something lampshades, and we connect them to power. We do these big installations, or I've got like 65 rugs, and at these gigs, you can reserve a rug, you can BYO drinks, you can BYO food. It's a really cost-effective and family-friendly way of having a safe and comfortable, Saturday night. But also, we have a really strong, and I definitely stole this off Meredith, as I'm sure anybody would know, but we have a really strong no dickhead policy, and we make sure that everybody feels welcome and everybody feels safe to be themselves and to experience and enjoy the music as they wish. But it's also reversed in the sense that when I get up on stage and I'm emceeing the gig, I'm like, hey, the musicians are about to start. Shut up. Far more polite, professional way. But it's like, hey, you've actually paid money to hear this artist. So we're going to have a long break in the middle so you can talk and catch up with your friends. And that's great. We're all for it. But we've made this entire space and this gig for that musician.
It looks like a movie scene. And that's exactly what people in the movies do. And so, yeah, congrats on that. It's What's your favorite though? That was the second question.
Yeah, good question. You
can't pick your favorite, baby. Well, you have a think about it, and we'll play More Than Life by Whitley or Whiteley. How do you say that?
Whitley.
All right, we'll get that on, and then we'll hear your favorite child afterwards. This is Someplace Somewhere on a fine Wednesday in Castlemaine. You're on Main FM. You're here with Crag and my guest today, JL. And we're talking all manner of things. And we're listening to a wee bit of music. You just heard More Than Life by Whitley. And that was brought in today by Jamie Lee. Why did you bring that one in? And there's a pending question from before as well.
So one of my favorite Secret Garden gigs was actually in Benalla, and I always try to take the requests of the host, and this host had a really all over the shop kind of taste of music, but there's an absolute living legend of Shepparton. Her name's Trisha Baggs, and she was one of my high school teachers / mentors who really pushed me to do what I
So,
do now.
sounds like a
And
drug dealer.
you're right, absolutely does. I'll tell her that. She now teaches Dempsey piano, so that'll be perfect. Um, but she actually came and played for like her kind of band played, and they rarely play. It's a really special occasion when they do play, and that was a real moment where I felt like I was sharing Christmas. I felt like I was sharing this
Oh
really
yes.
special gift with the audience that was there. And one of one of my talents, I think, is like programming stages that suit my audience, because I feel like I know the audience of our gigs so well. And when I get it right and I can see and feel the whole crowd vibing and people absolutely having a blast, I just feel like I've ticked this giant, like building sized box green, and I've just like ticked it, and I'm like, I've accomplished something. But I'm so proud of like what we create, and to have that moment with Trish and her just beaming and also doing what she's really good at. But that stage of absolute legends who have had their time in the sun and are doing music not because they're playing pubs or functions or events anymore, or not touring. They're doing it because they choose to do it. And a lot of musicians, I'm finding more and more, as we're having babies or we're getting married or we're moving away or our careers and time changes, they're saying to me, I'll only do gigs if you ask me to do them. I'll only, because they trust the space and they trust the audience and they know they're going to be valued and appreciated. So that was one of those days where the love was just flowing everywhere, and the respect and the appreciation was overflowing in that room. And my joy jug was absolutely overflowing.
A joy jug. I've never heard that term before. As a Scottish
You
person,
take
it
it.
sounds it sounds pretty filthy. Anyway, Whitley, More Than Life. That's a special one for you.
That's a Whitley was one of the first artists I saw when I moved to Melbourne to go to uni. I studied music business, and uh, I had, again, living regionally, had not always gotten the chance, very rarely gotten the chance to go to Melbourne. And when I moved to the city, I was so overwhelmed and so out of my depth. And I'd gone to the city a couple of times, and tried to move there and come home, like run back to the country. And I'd gone to a couple of gigs, and my friends had been like, no, like, do this, do that. But I was, yeah, really, really overwhelmed by the trams and the trains and people not knowing each other and bumping into you on the street. And I was just like, why doesn't anybody say g'day? What's going on? Why is it like this? And just didn't feel like a community or a village. And I felt really left out. But I also was shitting my pants at every corner. So went to this gig. I think it was at Northcote Social, and everybody was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, and Whitley just played. And I think I cried most of the set because Whitley's music is stunningly beautiful. But um, that song just hits me so hard and so deep. And when I looked around the room, I was just like, oh wow, it's just one of these experiences where everybody's emotional right now. And
Just
I mean,
like
that was
Matchbox
that was the
20
time. Exactly.
for
It's
me.
just it was such a different time, Craig. Like Triple J was like going to church, and that's where you found your music. And I remember this song got played probably more uh, more than other artists. Whitley was like really hot for a flash in the pan there, but not enough in my opinion. Like Whitley was just one of those artists that did not get enough credit and didn't get enough opportunity. And this song is, I don't even have the words. I find it really hard to explain how this song kind of moves my soul. And it might not be that for everybody else. Like maybe the listeners have listened to it and gone, oh yeah, it's just a song. But at that time of my life, it was on repeat a lot.
Well, that's what the show is all about. It's about someplace, somewhere. It's about where you were, what was going on in your life at the time, and there's no wrong answer to that. It can be something daggy, as you would say, or whatever, something, uh, something really, whatever. It's just whatever you were onto at the time. Anyway, we'll move on with some music. Um, excuse the pun, because we're going to play "Move On" by Jet. Uh, why'd you go for this one?
This was my first ever real concert. My high school bestie Danny and I had just started moving into that rock kind of alternative space in our music taste. We were listening to a lot of No Doubt, and like feeling really, like femme power, just loving Gwen Stefani's Sick and like, putting our hair up like that. And then bang, like this, like Jet took over the world. When this record Get Born came out, it was all consuming. It just saturated the market. I can't even begin to imagine how much money the companies and the big record labels spent on this record, but it worked. And they were playing at Festival Hall, and we got tickets and we road tripped with our friends who had their license. We weren't old enough to get our license by then. And we actually stayed in a hostel in the city. And so there's like Daniel Campbell, Sam Luderman, Danny Gowdy, myself, and we like road trip down. We were such adults. We were like so big and mature and like responsible and doing things. And we got to Festival Hall, got into the mosh pit, and our friend Daniel, so 1 out of 4, had an instant asthma attack within 10 minutes. So he's gone. And then Danny and I got separated, and then we found Sam at the end of the night. So it was just like regional kids losing their mind at a concert at Festival Hall. And that was probably the first of hundreds of gigs I went to there. But this song on the record, I noticed and I loved, and I sung it a lot in public, and I still sing it to this day if I'm doing a gig or sitting around the campfire. But I loved that the brothers in Jet, they harmonize so well, and it's a really simple song, but I don't know. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for a boy on a guitar singing his heart out with his heart on his sleeve.
I don't want to. Actually, I'm going to say it to you. I might edit it out, but a sucker. My wife is a sucker for a boy in Jet that she went to high school with, who I went to see doing the Beatles tribute in Bendigo. Nice guy. With the guy from what's his name? Whoa, Blackberry, Spider-Man. All right.
Oh.
Well, I've been thinking about the future. I'm too young to pretend. It's such a waste to always look behind you. You should be looking straight ahead. Yeah. Flinders Street Station. I'm looking down the tracks, a uniform man asking, am I paid off? Why would I want to be before
This is Someplace Somewhere on Main FM. You're here with Craig and my guest today, JL. And that was Move On by Jet. Uh, there's some chat around that is not for the radio, but maybe you can check it out on Mixcloud. We'll see how the edit goes. Going to your next choice is Missy Higgins. Was one of my I used to be a bouncer in Glasgow, a place called King Tut's, who I'm sure your husband has played, and
Mhm.
that's the first time I'd heard of Missy Higgins when I was doing the door there, and that would have been 2001, two, something like that. But yeah,
Mm.
really blew me away. You've brought in the song today, "The Sound of White." Like I say, I haven't had time to do my research as to, the year of the album and all that, but you probably know it. But why did you bring this one in?
I hitchhiked with a bunch of my friends from Shep. I mean, we caught a bus, then we like missed the next bus stop, so we had to like hitchhike. And then anyway, four of us made our way from Shep to Lawn for Falls Festival. And I think
Yeah.
we were 17, 16, 17. And no, we must have been 17 because there's no way my friends' parents would have let them go younger than that. But, the beauty of having no parents, I could do whatever the flip I wanted. So that was good. So we went to this festival. We didn't take a tent. We like had sleeping bags and swags, but like not very organized. We didn't take any food. We didn't take enough water. I ran out of money on the second day. It was, trial by fire. But I went just for Missy Higgins. And I stood in the middle of thousands and thousands of people. I mean, it felt like I was in the middle of the MCG, but Falls Festival was really huge in its peak and such an inspiration. But I got to the front, cried the whole set, sung every word as loud as I could. I so desperately wanted her to hear me. I wanted her to know that I knew the record back to front and sideways, and I knew every instrument and what it was doing, and like I could see the colors in my hair that I just connected to every single song. 17 is such a crucial part of a young girl's life. I mean, a young person's life in general, but
Mhm.
that record was groundbreaking. And I'd even cut my hair, Craig. Like I'd cut my hair short like her. I dyed it black. I was wearing grandma skirts, and if anybody
Manic
remembers
Pixie
Missy
Dream Girl.
Higgins, oh yeah, like Missy Higgins used to wear these like plastic ball necklaces, and I found some in the op shop, and I wore them all the time. I wore flat ballet shoes like her. She was just life, and I sung this record any chance I could get in public. I didn't give a shit if it was appropriate or not. I didn't give a shit if the pub or the bar or the function wanted to hear Missy Higgins. They were hearing Missy freaking Higgins because that, like, the joy that it gave me. Anyway, I remember standing in the middle of this crowd. The set had finished. They were doing changeover on the stage. And I just looked around and I was like, I don't know how, but I want to do this. I
Mm.
I want to do this. I want to run festivals. I want to make that happen. That moment in my life, I need to make that happen over and over and over again. And I think my psychologist tells me now I'm completely addicted to adrenaline. Um, and the cycle of adrenaline where I get stressed producing an event, deliver the event, I'm on such a high, and then I crash and burn really badly.
Mhm.
Anyway, regardless, 20 years of that cycle, I'm still not dead, but I have reproduced those moments, and yeah,
It
that
seems
that was the
seems like
game
you're
changer.
you're just like a proper music fan, like uh and yeah, just like undeniably nothing to do with events and staging and all that kind of thing. You're a proper music fan. Um, that's
I
what it
just wanted
seems
to
to
make
me.
it happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that experience happen, and I think also too I probably still am like vicariously living through those people, and I would have done anything, Craig. I would have sacrificed my kidney. I would have, sold my firstborn, love you, depth, to be Missy Higgins, to be Ella Hooper, to be those people with that talent and be on that stage, as a singer myself, but obviously an extrovert and a creative and a performer. Like, I could do it. I would. If you said to me right now, click your fingers and get up there and do it, I would. I don't give a shit if I'm singing, religious songs at carols by candlelight. I'm singing in front of 5,000 people. And so many of my friends say, I can't believe you're singing Agnus Dei. And anyone that's listening, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I just want to sing. I just want to be on that stage. I feel so at home and I feel so comfortable that it's addictive, but it's just like, it's just second nature. I would do it all day, every day. And I think when I don't get to do it is when I feel sad and I feel a bit flat and a bit hollow, because I'm happy to run the show. Like, I love running the show and I love running the gig. But when I get up there and sing with Fortestima and which is my 4-part harmony mum band, if anybody wants to look us up, we are just beautiful. There's 9 kids between all of us, and we just sing together, and it's the best. And our biggest inspiration was Sally's Band of Luca. So, rounding back to Sally, but it's some people have got it.
You should come and do you know about Castlemaine Idol here in Castlemaine? It's like
I have been told about this. I think we were invited once, but we just love it. It makes us all happy.
It's real cool, and I do that as because I've got my own issues and all the rest of it, but I can hold a tune or whatever. So I've done it like 4 times now. Didn't do it this year. Did the radio for like the announcer kind of thing. But yeah, it's started off in drag doing Human League, Don't You Want Me Baby, and then ended up doing Purple Rain by Prince to end out the show, playing guitar and all that kind of thing. It was it was pretty good fun. But it's about 800 people at that. It's not 5,000 people, but I've played some big gigs in my time, but not as a singer, so it's like 2 liters of wine just to get up there. But yeah, very satisfying afterwards. Yeah, it's
the high and the buzz. It's very addictive.
But I have zero memory afterwards. Like, I don't know if you have that, where it's like I went and did the thing, I did the practice, like I learned how to do the thing, and then after it, I'm like, I have zero memory of actually doing the thing, and it's a bit like that with events as well, because there's so much that's on your mind and so many bloody spreadsheets and all the rest of it. I don't have to tell you any about that. Too many popes in the kitchen. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know how to explain it. People who know. But this is Sound of White by Missy Higgins, as chosen by my guest. This is Someplace Somewhere. You're here with Crag and my guest today, JL. And we're talking all manner of ramblings or womblings or whatever you want to call them. We just heard some Missy Higgins, The Sound of White. Bit of a legend, Missy Higgins, especially to my guest today. We're gonna play another song called This Old Love by Leor. Is that how you pronounce it, Jamie?
Perfect.
Yeah, Leor. Yeah. What's the story behind this one? It's not a song I was familiar with, but obviously you've put it in your selection, so why?
Leor was, again, really huge on Triple J, and this was another one of those records that just took over the world. And Leor really did a sensational job touring and played in Shep a couple of times. And he actually still plays in Shep. He toured with an orchestra, and like Leor's quite the creative and continues to evolve. And I don't know, like diversify his music. And I really respect him as an artist in the sense that, he's played Sydney Opera House and all these incredible shows, and um, just doesn't really stop, doesn't seem to stop, but also just like stays relevant, but also moves with his fans. And we were such huge fans that one of my best friends in high school's mum took us all to Melbourne, and we went to a pub on Brunswick Street. Oh, crikey, I can't remember what it's called, but every listener's going to be like yelling it. It was this sick venue, and we actually stayed like in a apartment building, and like all these teenagers got to go sit. It was an all ages show. Oh, what was the venue? Anyway,
Stay
we
Gold
went to
or
this
something
lady.
like that. No,
No, it's on the corner.
0488863186 if you have the answer.
Oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I'll
But
think about it as soon
is
as I
it
get.
still there now? Or
Yeah, it's still there, still the venue.
all
And
right, well,
anyway,
someone will have the
we
answer.
we got dressed up as like the hippiest that any of us had ever dressed up, and I don't even think I wore any shoes. And we sat in the front row. We obviously weren't drinking alcohol. We were underage, and just
Obviously, not drinking alcohol.
yeah, obviously. But all these like little muso kids are sitting in the front row singing all the harmonies, and he just kind of like he stopped mid song a couple of times and was like, what, and then afterwards got photos with us, and like gave us all hugs and set lists, and was just like, wow, you kids are blowing me away. And we're just like, we love your record. Like it's huge in our whole circle. And we learn all the songs, and we're all like singing them and jamming them together. And then he said, like, I'll come to Shep. So came and played at the East Bank Centre in Shepparton. And again, we're all like up the front singing along, and he's just like, sing louder, sing louder. And then he came back, if I think maybe 12 or 18 months later, and he actually got in touch and was like, hey, because one of the dudes in our friendship group had this really great band called 22 Strings, and they supported him. And just he was so humble but personable as an artist. And he didn't, we weren't a bunch of like stupid teenagers. Like he really treated us and respected us as teenagers who were totally devoted and obsessed with his music. So when I met my husband, we were sharing songs, and we were showing each other like who our artists were that, kind of go down in history. And I showed husband this song, and he was just like, that is absolutely beautiful. And I was like, I know, listen to it again, keep listening to it, and you'll just hear more and more to it. And when we got married, this is the song that I walked down the aisle to, and our friends sung it for us.
Wow. Yeah. Who was your friend that sang it for you?
Tennille, who's on my list as number 10.
Yeah, Tennille, yeah, I have I was introduced to that artist by you for programming her. And yeah, listening to it today on the train coming back from Melbourne, I was like, that's probably my pick of the bunch. We'll get to that. But that's stiff competition when you've got like Amy Winehouse and Leor and all that kind of thing in there.
Yeah.
So This Old Love by Leor. Let's get a bit of that on. So you're a happily married lassie, and you get a couple of Waynes, and they have some special names, which will link to your next song choices. I'm picking up.
I never really wanted to have kids, but I knew that if I was going to, that I would know. I always knew it would be these two names.
All right. So, all right. Number one, we're going Ben. I don't know if it's number
Sure.
one in order of age or anything like that. I'm just going by the songs. But explain your working, because we're Better Be Home Soon by Crowded House. So we're talking about Neil Finn, I guess.
Yeah, so there was this incredible record. I know that it's so hard to find the descriptive words for all of these artists because, again, like you said earlier, there's 10 of them and it's so hard to choose. But truly, for me, this incredible life-changing record, which was called She Will Have Her Way. And when we talk about artists that are diversifying themselves and staying relevant, the genius behind this record was all of these phenomenal Australian artists did covers of Crowded House songs. Have you ever heard it?
No, no. My relationship with and Alan will tell you this, there was an ad back in the 90s in Scotland, and it said, "You know more Crowded House songs than you think you do," and it was for Recurring Dream, the best of Crowded House. And Recurring Dream is the best of Crowded House, but it was like, go on YouTube and you can see the ad, and it's very Scottish, and it was one of the first CDs I ever had. And I did know
Wow.
more Crowded House songs than I thought I did.
And like, so I was in high school. It was probably 2000 and I'm going to say 2004, and my love for Australian music, let alone like Australian female artists, was just kind of bubbling away. Like my Missy Higgins obsession was pretty deep. But my high school sweetheart at the time bought me this record and was just like, "I know you'll like it." And I was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, I like Sarah Blasco. Oh yeah, I like Claire Bowditch. Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh yeah, Crowded House, meh." And then I literally fell asleep to this record for years and years. It was the lullaby, and it opened up to, I think, a huge population of humans who knew Crowded House but didn't necessarily love them, but I loved Sarah Blasco and Claire Bowditch. So it was just, to hear them singing these songs in such a beautiful way was a great way to connect with Crowded House. So after that, I was just fully Crowded House mad, and still am. I don't know what it is about my brain and Crowded House, but if I am driving in the car or I'm in a shop, or I was actually in the Wallen toilets and Crowded House, and I'm sitting down for a whiz and Crowded House came on, and I just started singing in the cubicle. I don't care. I cannot help myself. I will be in the op shop, I will be in the supermarket. I don't care. If Crowded House comes on, I'm singing. You cannot stop me. It just leaves my body. And I feel like Crowded House are a gift to the world, and Neil Finn is a genius. And poor Tim Finn, poor bugger, imagine starting Split Ends and then your little brother just coming in and being like, ta-da! But the good thing too about She Will Have Her Way is it did have Split Ends songs on it. So I didn't even know who Split Ends were. And then 6 Months in a Leaky Boat, which Katie Steele did, which, by the way, Little Birdie was so hard not to put on this top 10 list. Katie Steele and Little Birdie. I could talk about Katie Steele for hours, but so my high school boyfriend took me to the Split Ends concert at Rod Laver Arena. And like, I never would have gone to that concert if it wasn't for that album. And then had a newfound appreciation and respect for Split Ends. And I think we were the youngest people in the crowd. Actually, I will tell this story. We were like right up the back in the nosebleed section. And I was so excited to go to Melbourne and go to Rod Laver Arena and go to this concert. And then I couldn't see anything, and I was so far away. And I was a bit spoiled. And I went to the toilet, and as I came up from the toilets, I heard the security guard say, because I'm a cheeky, very cheeky shepherd and human, I heard the security guard say something like, "Imagine having tickets up the front and not going." And I just like did a U-turn instantaneously and said, "Sorry, did I hear you say that there are tickets up the front?" And this would never happen in this day and age, but he must have had his license. So it must have been like 2006. And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, and I just put on the puppy eyes and I went like full cute and like batted my eyelashes and just did everything I could. And I was like, and I'm sorry, any listeners that, are possibly kind of smirking somewhat offended. I don't care. You do what you got to do to get what you want. And I was just like, I begged this security guard. I was like, please, please, if the person comes, I will leave straight away. I've
Oh,
driven all the way from Shepparton.
yeah. Shy Baron's getting out. Yeah.
Yeah, completely just lathered it on. And we ended up 3 rows from the front. And ridiculous story, but it happened. And it was one of the best nights of my life. So then, yeah, I've seen Crowded House. I've seen Neil Finn every single time I possibly can. I even hitchhiked, desperate times, desperate measures. But I made my way from Shepparton to Byron Bay Blues and Roots, and I was volunteering at that event when I was 20, and I stage managed for the main stage volunteering, but I co-stage managed that stage when Crowded House played, and I was crying side of stage, and the keyboardist's wife hugged me and was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm not okay." And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. This is my favorite band on the planet." And she was like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 19." And she was just like, "Hang on a second." And Crowded House came off stage and she said, "Just hang on. They don't like to talk to anyone for about half an hour. Just wait here." And I'm like, "Who the fuck are you? What?" Oh, I'm probably not meant to swear, but anyway, who are you and what's going on? And then I nearly gave up. I thought, oh, this woman was lying to me. I don't even know who she was. And she came back and she said, "They're ready to see you now." And I went all through, like, she gave me accreditation, gave me a wristband, like, took me into the mega hive that was the green room for Byron Bay Blues and Roots, and knocked on the door, and there's Crowded House, and I'm speechless. I'm sunburnt. I'm smelly. I've been camping for 3 days at Byron Bay Blues and Roots, and I've been crying for an hour, so I'm all puffy. And they gave me a beer. I don't drink beer. And it was just this 19, 20-year-old girl.
You're still emotional. I can tell looking at you now.
Like,
I know it's radio,
losing my
but
mind.
yeah.
Losing my mind. And they signed a set list. They got a photo with me. And Crag, to this day, I still regret. I should have been like, "I will be your tour manager. I will be the person who washes the towels. I will get your catering. I don't care what you want, but please, please let me help." And they probably would have said, "No, we're going to get a restraining order." But that was a huge game changer. So my second born child, I always knew that Finn was a great name and that I wanted to dedicate an offspring of mine to the bands that I love. And Finn is my second born. So his name's Finn Andrew Mitchell, and Finn being the name that I chose. And I said to my husband, "I don't care about anything else, but I'm choosing the first name." So we named him Finn Andrew, and Andrew is Andy, is his brother's name. And then Mitchell's obviously my husband's last name. I'm a feminist. I didn't change my name. But Finn Andrew Mitchell. And when he was in my belly, I was working Riverboats Music Festival, and Neil Finn and his son Liam Finn were playing at Riverboats, and he essentially met Finn in the womb, and I told him that the baby was being named after him. So he gave me this huge hug and thanked me and was just like blown away. And then we all got a photo together, and they signed the set list, and it's like Neil Finn wrote, "Dear Finn, how lucky are you? You've chosen great parents. Love always, Finn." And I was just like, "Oh my God, this is such a privilege."
This is radio, but we are doing a video call, and old Jamie here is quite emotional, but thinking about that, I can vouch for that. He's got this because you're a singer, he's got this voice that I've tried to replicate. We did a cover gig in Glasgow called Kunselhuis, which for the Scottish people out there is a take on Crowded House at Kunselhuis. I grew up in a Kunselhuis, and but he does this like weird hum. It's like a chord on his vocals, and I've almost got it, but it's just like it's a kind of a one in a million. It's like it's it's really hard to describe. Uh, but yeah, it's evident on this song as well. Better be home soon. That was Better Be Home Soon by Crowded House. Do you claim them as Australian or Kiwi?
Oh,
I've had a former guest on, Mr. Doug Falconer from Hunters and Collectors, who's a Castleman guy, and he said when he was studying to be a doctor, Split Ends played at the college party or whatever kind of thing and changed his life. And all 6'3" of them or whatever when he was dancing on the table, kind of changed his life. But when you were telling the story there, I remembered a time when I was in LA and there was a club we wanted to go to or a bar we wanted to go to, and the queue was around the block. And I was there with my Australian mate, who's like a very handsome man, Jack. Shout out Jack. And we just went to this. I was like, just leave this with me. Went to the front of the queue and said, like, because I'd seen a poster from Missy Higgins playing in LA like that night, and I said, oh, okay, we're playing in the band. Everyone told us this is a place to go. We're playing with Missy Higgins. Jack's from Australia. He's a drummer. I'm the bass player. I'm from Scotland, kind of thing. And can we jump the queue because we got a flight in 3 hours? Absolute lies, but worked. So I was the bass player for
yes,
Missy Higgins for one night. Uh,
yes,
I get um my wife always tells you've got a story about everything, and it's like, yeah, well, live a life less ordinary, then you will have a story about everything, as do you. So your next story is going to be something for Kate with another very tall man.
oh,
One of my favorite singers since I came to Australia. And you've went for the track Captain Bracket Smelly Miles an Hour. I love a bracket.
oh,
Guy can sing.
oh, I can't, I can't bear to say this out loud, but my husband hates them with the fire of 1,000 suns. He can't stand something for Kate, and it still hurts me that I married a man that doesn't like something for Kate, let alone Paul Dempsey. But the only thing that keeps me going and, really
Married.
just,
Only thing that keeps you married.
like, just gives me that real edge on life, like real, just, I'm just on the edge of my seat, but I'm just sitting here chuffed like a Cheshire cat, is that I got to name my firstborn child Dempsey. And so for the rest of his life, he has to say the word Dempsey, even though he can't stand the sound of Paul Dempsey's voice.
Oh, wow.
I still feel like I've won.
What does like my introduction was a survival expert, which is one of probably one of my favorite songs. I've played this song that you've chosen before as well. Obviously, there's big hits and all that kind of thing, but they never really there's so many bands that kind of miss me because they didn't really get out of Australia. And things did get out of Australia which were like pretty rubbish, like Peter Andre and Gina G and or whatever. Um, but yeah, something for Kate. Cold Chisel was a big one for me, where it was like I didn't know. As I've told the story 100 times, I didn't know Jimmy. I'd never heard of Cold Chisel. And then I was watching the project one day and Jimmy Barnes was on it, and it's like turns out he's from Cowcaddens. He's like I was like, what? Yeah, just wild. And I love it. It's like Australian Bon Jovi. And I love Bon Jovi. But yeah, I seen I I was seeing a lassie in Queensland and Something for Kate were playing live, and they played Survival Expert, and that was like, hmm, this guy can sing, much like Neil Finn, but yeah, real good singer.
There's something about Paul Dempsey's stage presence and the way that he
Oh, he's massive.
feels every but like feels every chord and like does not stop. Like from the second that he walks on stage to the second he walks off, there is no moment where he's not going at 110 and using every piece of energy that's in his body, like every single element that's making up him as a person, all those neurons and connections and muscles. And it's something that deeply affects me on a level. I saw Something for Kate when I was like 17. There used to be these, well, there still is, but these freezer shows by the push, and you could play like Battle of the Bands in regional Victoria, and then if your band was good enough, like, and then got through the heats, then they could play this huge concert in Melbourne. And I'm pretty sure this gig was like at the Docklands or something like that. And our friend's band from Shep, they got through, and so they got to play this show. And I already loved Something for Kate, but I had never seen them live because I was a teenager in Shepparton, and then went to this gig, and nobody else, still to this day, nobody else in my friendship group really likes Something for Kate apart from one friend. But if there's a Something for Kate or a Paul Dempsey gig on, I actually do find it hard to find somebody to go with. So you're it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen him solo. I think the last time you were in Castlemaine was to come and see Paul Dempsey at the Theatre Royal, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. And
yeah,
I will go anywhere, anytime. If I had disposable income, Crag, if I didn't have two miniature humans that were sucking the soul out of me, let alone any piece of money that I had, I would just spend all of my money going to see the bands that I love, because it's like going to church. I went to see Something for Kate play at the new, I think it's called the Northcote. Is it the Northcote Theatre? It's a new venue on High Street in Northcote. And
yeah, another one.
Yeah. My friend took photos and then framed them for me for my birthday, because
wow.
she's like, I've never seen somebody so fucking like. She's just like, you don't give a shit. And I'm like, no, I do not care who is around me or what is going on. I'm going to church, and this is my religion, and it is Something for Kate. Get out of my way. I need to connect with my God. And it's like being possessed. I can't describe Something for Kate to people, because I don't understand why he doesn't get it. Why don't you get it? Why don't you
like
love them?
he's a musician. He's an amazing singer. Like
he thinks Paul Dempsey sounds like Bush, so he's just not impressed.
Yeah, but Gavin Rossdale's a good singer as well. Tell him to check out his acoustic cover of Danger Zone from Top Gun.
I think I have heard that. And so I paid this money like at the Theatre Royale, which I love that venue. I would
it's great.
Definitely sacrifice my firstborn for that venue. I went and I paid the money to sit right up the front. It was dinner and a show. And I said to my husband, come to this gig, sit and listen and respect and watch and understand why I love them so much. Like, please give me that. And he sat with his arms folded in front of Paul Dempsey for like 2.5 hours and just didn't move. And I was like, you are humiliating. You couldn't even pretend to enjoy it. He reckons he did. He said that was his version of pretending to enjoy it. But I will never, ever, ever go to a sit-down gig like that ever again, because it was painful to not get up. Like I had to hold the chair and like do some kind of weird rocking out motion, and it was uncomfortable and painful.
Yeah, we did that with UMI at the same venue, and I was so Rachel like loves Tim Rogers and UMI and all that kind of thing, and I was like kind of didn't really know them, to be honest, kind of thing. But yeah, but it was a good gig. It's a bit rock and roll. So what I like about rock and roll, but I didn't have my arms folded. But yeah, shame on you, Alan. You've been called out because Paul Dempsey's a hell of a singer. Talking about
And just
um,
and just a great songwriter too, I should say. Like his songwriting's amazing. So firstborn child is named after Paul Dempsey. Her name's Dempsey, and secondborn child is Finn after Neil Finn. And I knew that from about 17. That's if I was going to reproduce, if I was going to bring children onto this planet, if I was going to take on that huge responsibility / burden, then I knew that's what I was calling them. And husband just said, "You're the
well,
one birthing them. Call them what you want." So there we
congrats
go.
on the troll. It's a pretty good troll. This is someplace somewhere, and we're rambling all over the radio today. This is Crag and my guest today, Jamie Lee, and we're gonna get a bit emo next, I think, with a band called The Used, who I'm quite familiar with. We talked earlier on about singing and learning to sing, and I kind of learned to sing. The drummer in my old band was, well, still is a very good singer, but now he's had kids and he's whatever. No,
Yep, same story.
not throwing any shade on you there, breeder. Uh, but yeah, we went to university in a place called Ayr, but we didn't live in Ayr, so it was like a 2 hour drive to go to uni to do music business, same as you. So I had a flat in Glasgow, but yeah, he was a really good singer, and this album was kind of out at the time, and I sing in a high register, just like Bert McCracken from The Used. And this was a pretty hot ticket back in the day. Um, what's is it just because you're a mad emo? You chose this?
I I sung a used song at lunchtime in my high school. Like I was dedicated to Bert McCracken. One of my friends stole the McCracken Street sign right next to Notre Dame College, and I drilled it to my bedroom, my rental bedroom wall.
Mm.
So I was,
People do
pretty
that
hardcore.
with Partway Drive. Like I think they have to replace it every 3 days or something.
Yes, yes. So the emo phase was strong and it was intense. And there was a gig, a touring festival called A Taste of Chaos, and the Used were playing, as well as a whole bunch of other bands, but I can't remember anybody but Bert McCracken. And
Yep.
I'd watched all the DVDs, I'd like watched all the MTV specials, like anything I could get my hands on. And I saw a lot of the time, and it was like always in the magazines, that he would scream so hard and, absolutely go level 10 with like the power of his voice and the emotion that he would vomit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think it was like the third or fourth song, and there was a bucket like just offside a stage, and he screamed really hard, and the stage manager ran it out so he could vomit, and I fainted. I was like Elvis was in the building. I completely like dropped my bundle and just was like, oh my God. And that was it. Like I was so pathetic, but so committed. So yeah, that was one of those concerts where, again, the country kids made their way, made the pilgrimage to the big city, and
Yeah.
had one of those adult experiences. And I had not listened to my emo songs. I got rid of all my CDs. Like I did that years and years and years ago. But my friend and I were talking about our like high school reunion and the songs we used to listen to in high school. And then I've been kind of distracted in life and have been focused on trying to find all the bangers from the mix CDs and the playlists and the tapes that we recorded off the radio, to try and find the songs I didn't even know who they were by. I just loved this song and it was on this burnt CD, and I haven't heard it again for 10 years. Not that The Used was one of those bands, but there was so many bands around that, like when you'd buy a magazine and it would have like a mixed
Yeah.
a
Like
mixed tape essentially.
government thing. Yeah.
Yes. And so you just play it from start to finish, learn all the songs, and then, get sick of that and listen to something else. So Spotify, as much as I think it's the devil and as much as I hate everything about those big kind of corporations,
Yeah.
when I was driving back from Melbourne today and I was listening to one song and then another song, and then I was listening to the Vines. I was listening to Highly Evolved from start to finish. And once that record finished, it kept showing me other songs, and I was like, oh no, I remember this one. But the used is Burt McCracken. Burt McCracken.
I've got some playlists to share with you.
I'm so
No,
excited.
never
Please.
Spotify friends. My back to front album is Bleed American, Jimmy Eat World. That's like
Oh, really?
yeah, that's like back to front, like you're not skipping any tracks there. Even that Matchbox 20 album, I'll skip track one kind of thing. But maybe
Yeah.
Glassjaw's first album, as well, very much of that era. But yeah, played with the Used before, and yeah, they're pretty good. Live, very simple kind of thing, but yeah, he was a good singer, but I wouldn't say he was um all that.
It wasn't all that in a bag of chips, no. But this record at the time for me was all killer, no filler.
Yeah, it's good. I listened to it, and said drummer who was talking, I was like, I just sent him a link to the album. I was like, we haven't talked about this in a while, you know. And I was like, because I just listened to it back to front, and I was like, yeah, it's good. And yeah, and it reminds us of time of when we were playing with bands like Every Time I Die and Brand New and The Used and all that kind of thing. Because Glasgow's a small place, and you can get really
Yeah.
good supports and all that kind of stuff. Husband will tell you as much. And yeah, just such a good scene. But yeah, this is The Taste of Ink by The Used.
Is it worth the
This is Someplace Somewhere on Main FM. You're here with Crag and Jamie Lee. That was The Used and the track The Taste of Ink, as chosen by an old emo and appreciated by another old emo, an older emo. That was
Elder
the
emos is what we're called now.
are we what are we called? I don't know what, like, I think it's everyone's coming back now. It's like I've just been in Melbourne today, as I think you were as well, and all the fashions and everything is like it's so 90s, and it's just I can't really get my head around it. I'm like, but that's exactly what I looked like back then. But that's what our parents would have said about us. Like that's how we looked in the 70s or something like that. You know, I'm wearing a cardigan. This is really
I'm wearing a
and
black dressing gown that I had to buy from the men's section because you can't buy women's dressing gowns that are black. So you have to go to the men's section and buy them.
so I mostly buy women's clothes because I am a small man in a big man's country. So like my joggers are, which I'm wearing now, are age 11 because that's what my legs are.
Yeah,
But
good.
yeah, but mostly women's clothes from the 70s. I have or most of my clothes because that's women must have been my size in the 70s. Here's a joke for you. What's ET short for?
No.
You're supposed to say extraterrestrial.
Oh. Oh, I never thought about it. Extraterrestrial. Yeah.
No, it's just got wee legs.
Oh,
I'm not even a dad, but can we do that again?
I'm gonna tell that one. I'm gonna tell that one to husband so he can actually use it because he should use it because he is a dad.
Yeah. What's ET short for?
Extraterrestrial.
Nah, it's just got wee legs.
Yeah. See, I can't even say it, but yeah, I like it.
All right,
There's,
that'll be a spicy
some
edit.
words. There's some words in my vocabulary that I can't actually get out of past my teeth.
Do you get Scottish jokes though?
Oh, I'm
So,
shocking. Nah, don't.
right, I'll give you a couple that were on my mind the other day. So, Greg's, the bakers.
Yeah.
So I was in there one day and I said, is that a pie or a meringue? And the lassie behind the counter said, "You're no rang, that's a pie." Same day. I said to the, I'm like, how come like all these cakes are like a fiver, and that one's like 12 bucks? And she said, "Oh, that's Madeira cake." Audible sigh. I tried to get a
Ag.
job. I tried to get a job there at the butcher's, and but the stakes were too high.
You have to add the sound effects.
Mm. Yeah. Anyway, probably that won't make the cut. What tune do you want to go with next? That's Madeira cake.
Oh, I'll tell husband that's if I remember in the morning. Let's go. Your love is like a song, Dan Sultan. Dan Sultan is a stunningly beautiful individual, and when I lived in Brunswick, he played around the traps and partied around the traps, and I watched from afar and lovingly gazed in his direction. But this particular song, the production, the mix, whatever you want to say it, but just the ingredients in the recipe are just bang on. I've seen Dan Sultan a bazillion times, and I I will continue to see Dan Sultan. I don't care if he sings Bananas in Pajamas. I don't care if he's singing on the back of a truck or in the Sydney Opera House. If I can go, I will. And I actually was trying to get tickets. He's playing a gig with the MSO. I think it's during NAIDOC week. I'm not too sure on the details, but I went to get tickets and it was too late. It was already sold out. But I mean, I talk like I'm like flush with cash, but I'd looked at the ad and I'd looked at the link for like 2 months and was like, I really can't afford it, but I really want to go. But I really can't afford it, but I really, really want to go. And then I thought, oh, stuff it. Like, just buy the tickets and work it out later. Like, everything will be fine. It's Dan Sultan and the MSO. And then I finally clicked on the link and I couldn't get tickets. So,
Well, you must know a person or two that could facilitate.
oh, I'm never that person. I have
I'm
worked.
that person.
Yeah, I could and I would, but I don't, and I guess I feel better for it. But if anybody's listening and they can get me tickets to the Dan Sultan show, I will totally go and I will be forever grateful. And I'll swap you tickets to all of my gigs for the rest of your life. But
Yeah.
this song, this is a beautiful song, and actually, pretty much any record, I would say to the listeners, if there was an Australian artist I was going to tell you to listen to, it's Dan Sultan. Start
Wow.
from the start, work your way the whole way through, because the evolution of his musicianship and the evolution of him as an artist and a songwriter is really stunning. And if you get a chance, read about like him, and like he partnered a lot of songwriting at the start, and then him and that guy parted ways, and then he went on to like different, and you can just tell the difference in him as a muso and his confidence, and I think his own self-work. And he's also, really suffered some hard times with substance abuse, and I think he's been sober. I think it's 4 years now. I could be wrong, but I think it's somewhere between 4 and 5 years. And even if you get to watch him on YouTube or if you get to see him live, and then go back, 15 years, he's very, very different. I like this is awful, but when I was younger and in that same space, I feel like the show as a whole was better, because we were all munted. I know that's probably a terrible thing to say, but like
Yeah.
we
It's
were
that's
all
classic,
absolute.
isn't it? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
classic.
it's like a classic time and that classic kind of era of my time. But I have seen him like post sobriety, and it hit different. It hit different. I don't drink anymore either. I don't like. I had a drink at Christmas, and um, I didn't even. I maybe had like two or three drinks at Christmas, and then maybe like 6 months before that. So I think again, as we grow and evolve and get older and wiser and smarter, we just change. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if anybody gets a chance, listen to him from start to finish.
This is someplace somewhere on 94.9 Main FM. That's my best radio voice. We're uh talking all kinds of stuff today, but I'm here with Jamie Lee, who is very involved in the events, music, festival industry, and it's kind of taken a bit of a dive at the moment. What's your thoughts on it? Are you feeling the effects?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball. That would be my instant answer.
Don't we
I wish
all?
I could predict the future. It's I feel like it's worse than COVID, and that false economy that was created by the pandemic, and then JobKeeper or whatever else. Don't get me wrong, it probably saved people from starving in many situations, but um, God, we had such a peak event season post pandemic. There was huge saturation. People were burning out left, right, and center because we'd gone from like 2 years of no work to intense, overwhelming workload, and everybody wanted everything right now, straight away. Um, to a pretty dry, barren landscape and no end in sight. I mean, Splendor in the Grass just called it, which everybody's talking about. But there's been, I think my last count was 16 festivals across the country, large or small. I don't discriminate. If you're making live music opportunities happen and the ingredients of a festival are there, I don't care if there's 500 people or 50,000 people, it's still a festival. Um, so I think I was up to 16 on my account. Splendor happened, everybody started talking about it, and then this week Caloundra Music Festival cancelled. That's been going for 17 years. So I
We've had that here.
work on
Castlemaine
lots of,
State Festival has just been called as well or
I
cancelled.
I was shocked and amazed when I heard that news, Crag. Shocked and
Yeah.
amazed. I was, working on Shepparton Festival for a long time, the Shepparton Arts Festival, and I this may be my personal opinion only, so take it with a grain of salt, but I always felt like the ugly cousin in comparison to Castlemaine. Castlemaine's so cool. Castlemaine is trendy and it has the culture and the arts and the creatives, and it's a like far more I don't know, intense mix of very creative practicing individuals who are really doing what they do. And then Shep, we've got a population of, I think it's 82,000, the last census, but
So you and I
it's,
both worked in Shepparton Festival. And it's a very different thing. It's like it doesn't have those big ticket items at Castlemaine State Festival, which is every 2 years. And then there's the Fringe Festival, which goes alongside. And the Fringe is really interesting, but Fringe is more like Shepfest kind of thing. It's like, although there's like big ticket items, but it's not like big ticket items. Like you're not asking a lot for people to go along like ticket prices. And I think ticket prices is kind of what's kind of killing the industry because post COVID, it's like, I can sit at home and watch a concert on TV or, but the concert doesn't happen and you can't watch it on TV. So it's, I think Australia, in my observation, like the classics like Big Day Out and all that kind of thing, and like that's gone and now like you know um Splendid on the Grass being cancelled and all this. It's like his booking. It's just too expensive for bands to come here, and it's too expensive to go and see the gig. Would you agree with that, or
Yeah, I
just?
think people's priorities have changed. Their taste for experiences has changed. I mean, we're just never going to know what kind of life we would have had or a world we would have had without the pandemic. And
Hmm.
we can't take it back now. There's nothing, we can't change the past. But um, I would never have expected the industry to go like this. And I would like to think I'm pretty in tune, but more than anything, I specialize in regional events. So I'm always got my finger on the pulse, or my finger in the pie, if you wish, in the sense that I know about events before other people know about them. I'm usually working on them, or I'm consulting, and so um, it's pretty dead and barren out there. And the feedback I'm getting is really mixed. But what I would like to kind of share with yourself and the listeners is, when you are building a festival, it is like building a city. You still need running water, you still need power, you still need toilets, you still need safety and security and engineering and um, everything it would take nearly to build a house or to build a city. You're building in this unique, maybe fit for purpose space, but um, with the regulations and the rules and the insurance and everything else, it's far more complex. Sometimes I get annoyed because people think my job is so much fun, or they think it's really sexy, or they
It's definitely
or
not.
they just or they just don't even see it as a job. They kind of talk to me like I should be grateful that I love my job so much. And I'm like, hang on, all because you chose to be an accountant and your job is boring and you are unsatisfied doesn't mean that you work any harder than me. I still work
Mm.
just as hard, but I'm loving every single, even though I've had 20 inches of rain tonight, or I'm freezing cold, or I'm just worked an 18-hour shift. That's beside the point. I chose to not necessarily have a consistent income. I chose to work in an unstable industry. I chose to work in an unpredictable industry, and I chose to work ridiculous hours and most weekends. That's my choice. So, but going back to your question,
But that's a really honest take, which people don't consider. Like they don't consider that. It's like, and fair enough, it is a choice, but it's not glamorous. It's not, all the machinations that go around with post-pandemic, like Castlemaine is completely like there's almost too much on because people got funding post-pandemic and all the rest of it, and they have to do that. Plus, artists are going regional, and they're going, oh yeah, I can just go and play in Shep or play in Castlemaine or Charlton or something like that, and that's great. It's really good, but it's that kind of North get North kind of thing that we get here, where it's like, yeah, you're getting these really cool artists because we've got cool venues around here, but like I for one can't afford to go to all these gigs, and there's a lot of free gigs,
yeah,
and it's amazing, but the venues can't afford to pay for all that as well, so it's a
yeah.
bit of a
So like
catch.
what I meant,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's absolutely. And what I meant by that little, playing my tiny violin was that the suppliers. So let's say you're building this town from scratch. You're building this mini city from scratch. You've got to pay for the toilets. You've got to pay for the engineering dock for stage. You've got to pay for the safety officer. You're paying for security. You're paying for cleaners. You're trying to be ethical. You're trying to be self-sustainable. You're trying to predict the weather. You're taking big risks on so many different elements of the event. And those costs, put it this way, I just got asked to donate things in my warehouse, like hire items in my warehouse for free for an event in Shepparton. I explained to them that as a small business, I donate 3 times a year to chosen charity or organization or not-for-profit, because I'm a small business and I get asked all the time, like every week. And in my new model, I'm only going to do 3 a year from now on. Anyway, I caved. I gave in. I gave them $2,500 worth of styling stuff. They don't understand that I've still got to clean it. I've still got to prep it. I've still got to unload it from the shelves and get it ready. Then when they bring it all back, I've still got to wipe it, wash it, fix it, put it back on the shelves, blah, blah, blah. And when you do these festivals, none of those suppliers, and I could be wrong, and listeners tell me if I'm wrong, but 9 times out of 10, none of the big toilet companies, security companies, engineering companies, hire companies, staging companies, none of them work for free ever.
Yeah, exactly.
But somebody like myself that has all the pressure, all the stress, all the expectation, and all the risk is making $7 an hour.
Yeah, I think risk is a big part of it where, and I really, really appreciate your candor and your honesty here, talking about it, because there's a lot of people, even presenters on this station who do similar things to you and who you'll know and all the rest of it. And they're feeling the same pain. In business, be business, and you have to run a business. And it would be nice to be as kind and as ethical and whatever as you would like to be. But like you say, the Portaloo companies aren't aren't fronting up, so why should you? And that's just that's I don't know what the answer is there. Is it a ethical dilemma where like
it takes a certain kind of person to run events. It takes a person that like I've said a couple of times now, like is addicted to the adrenaline. Like I clearly have ADHD, and that's okay. I've also got high functioning anxiety, and I have made it this far, cross my fingers, without any major kind of issues. But
welcome to the club.
Well, yeah, cheers. But it takes a certain kind of person to be able to spin that many plates. And I can run a music festival with my eyes closed and thrive in those conditions. But you want me to cook dinner, or wash the dishes, or do the laundry, or no, it's just not. I mean, I do, and I will.
Yeah,
but
task
I'm going to
aversion.
do it at a very complete task aversion. But again, what I mean is like if there's a job to be done and it's been quoted for 6 hours, but I want to go above and beyond, and I want to do it properly, and I want the client to have a great experience, but I also want the attendees to have the best experience, and that 6-hour quote actually turns into a 15-hour job. It's my choice because it's my expectation and my standard to deliver that at that high rate. But what I'm saying is unfortunately, we've shot ourselves in the foot in this like circular motion of so many people before us working for free, and so many people before us, having full-time jobs and then doing this as a side hobby, that I don't think the industry has caught up to people actually wanting to make a living from this space. And there's all these promoters and there's all these producers that are, putting on doofs or, putting on major tours or whatever, or don't even get me started on Live Nation and all those like multi-corporate organizations that have just sucked the soul and the life out of the entire space. I could talk all night about that corrupt crap. But there's people like myself who are small time, who aren't willing to jeopardize the safety and the experience of our attendees. And I'm not willing to cut corners, and I'm not willing to minus anything from the experience. So every year our opportunity for profit shrinks to the point that it's completely disappeared. So there's this like expectation of a generation who want everything for nothing. They want the VIP experience for the general admission ticket. And then there's people like myself who have just always gone above and beyond because it's in our nature to do so. But then when you kind of, you know, cry poor or explain to people that, hey, like I've got kids now and I've got a mortgage and I'm trying to be a functioning human and I'm not going to work for free drinks anymore, or I'm not going to work, you know, for $200 a night. Like, you know, my kids are going to go to high school in a couple of years, or my kids need braces, or like nobody cares. It's the same sob story everybody's got. But the reality is that technically I probably, no, not even probably, I would make more money if I was a checkout chick at Coles. And that's
that
the
is kind of the thing. And we're probably going to get cancelled here for talking about fundraisers and all that kind of thing, because that seems like it's the only thing now. It's like it's almost like talking about certain events and stuff. You have to actually pay to perform, and it's your time to. It's it seems counterintuitive, you know, but you do get that kind of, I don't want to call it Catholic guilt, but just guilt. But you know, if you're not helping out this situation kind of thing. So some people can afford to do it and some people can't. But the people who live in my neighborhood or own multiple properties or cashed up tradies, and I'm a filthy little renter. And yeah. So when someone says, do you want to just do this for free? I'm like kinda over that. And I think the pandemic kind of made that for everyone because they were like, okay, there can be an easier life. There are masochists like we are out there, ADHDers, and it's a real thing. Because what would we rather be doing? And you don't want to see things die, like what we were talking about with festivals and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to see any of that die, but we want to support. But we've got bigger fish to fry. You know, I don't have kids, but
yeah.
I can't
And
imagine.
you know, if I had this privileged life, and don't hang on, I'll say that again. I feel incredibly lucky and privileged that my kids are in a really stable environment. I have a roof over my head. I've got a snoring dog next to me. You know, I am happy and I'm healthy, and I have people who love me and who I love them. And I'm grateful every day that I found the thing that makes me happy, because I know there are people in this life who have gone through their working lives not doing something that inspires them or excites them.
I completely concur with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I probably should have just done a teaching course and taught drama. And I hate saying it out loud. I hate it. I don't even want to think that way. But at the same time, 10 years ago, I didn't think I was going to have kids, and I didn't think I was going to settle down. And I never thought, you know, I thought I'd be working Glastonbury. I thought I'd be working on Coachella. That was my dream, to go travel the world and work on festivals. I made different choices. That's the way the cookie crumbles. But if you're going to reproduce, as I have, I believe in doing it properly, unlike my own experience. And so in order to do that, I have to start making some really hard decisions. And, you know, I just say to the listeners out there, who I'm probably preaching to the converted, but don't ignore what's happening, because as a society, things are changing, and culturally things are changing. And I think right now it's a reality that we are truly working just to live. We're not working so we can have fun. We're not working so we can have experiences. We are purely working to make money to eat and pay rent or pay our mortgages. And that's the full stop. And I think it's really sad that we've come to a time of our lives, of our world, where the moments of joy and the moments of happiness and the connection to community we can't afford. I think that's absolutely terrifying. And if I could do free gigs every weekend, if I could, live a life where I never had to send an invoice, I wouldn't do it, Craig. I wouldn't. I hate it. I hate money. I don't care about it. And it's a terrible mentality, but
yep.
I was raised with nothing. So nothing is nothing. Nothing equals nothing. It doesn't bother me. I can eat Weet-Bix for the rest of my life. 3 meals a day. I did it for 3 years while I was at uni. It didn't bother me. But now I have to be a responsible adult. And I there's a part of me that thinks, well, you shouldn't have had children then. You can't be this selfish person who can have it all. You can't have the job that you love that makes you so happy and reproduce and try and do it properly. And that's awful. It's an awful thought to have. And I feel guilt and I feel, stressed and anxious and worried and concerned. And I'm trying to predict the future. But right now I just have to focus on what I'm doing and if my business is going to survive and if I'm going to have work in the next 12 months and then what my other options are after that. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that are in the same boat. And if you are, reach out, because I think now more than ever, we have to, as an industry, connect. We have to, as an industry, collaborate. We have to look out for each other. Like, there's been this weird competitive, really strange thing that's kind of a learnt behavior for so long, and I hate it. I'm not into it at all. Like, the more we work together and the more we collaborate, the 10 million times better we're going to be.
Wise words. Thanks for sharing that. It's yeah, really. I don't really know where it's going. Like, I'm a bit like you, where I've been doing a job for 5 months and doing the work and not invoicing, and I'm like, I just like Xero, like accounting software kind of thing. I'm like, and it's kind of like annoying to the person who's supposed to pay me, and I'm undercharging anyway, and I'm like going like, sorry, I haven't given you an invoice for 5 months, and now you owe me quite a lot of money, and it's and I don't know why. But well, I do know why. It's because I'm absolutely mental. But aren't we all? Uh, Thank you so much for your time tonight. We're gonna play a couple of tunes because it's going to be a two-parter. Um, I wanted to play "Piece of My Heart" by Big Brother and the Holding Company, and old Janis Joplin, which is at the end of your list there. I can see that would be an influence for you. Yeah. Would that be true?
Yeah, 100%. I have a really low register and have leaned into it in my
older years.
older years. But a few years ago, I did really try to pitch myself up here and talk more like this. Whereas now it's just like, this is how I talk. Like, this is just how I talk. And when I'm singing, I do sit in the alto bass kind of register. So I am lucky enough that I have quite a wide range, but I'm much more comfortable in alto bass. And in Fortissima, the girl band that I sing in, it's more often than not, the question asked is, where is the bass coming from? Like, who is doing the bass? And there's 4 of us girls, and it's like, it's that freak over there.
Yeah. I always wondered, like, I've talked about this before, and this is a question for you, is about how you can pick harmonies. I sing kind of baritone and falsetto, but like, I cannot. Like, I'm always amazed by people who can pick harmonies. I don't know how. Like, I've heard your band before, and I don't know how.
You're
How do you
you're
do
asking
it?
the wrong person.
How
No,
do you
you're
do
asking
it?
the wrong person. I
How do you
can't.
stay in the lane?
No. Sally, your neighbour,
Yeah.
she can pick a harmony. I mean, not to discredit the incredible hard work that she's put in as a musician, but I go an octave under the alto harmony. So I just cheat. So if you watch Fortissima,
But you know what you're
I'm
talking about by the sounds of it.
well, I grew up singing mostly male songs, which then that register kind of happened. Whereas a lot of my girlfriend singers were they were singing Mariah Carey, or they were singing
One of my favorites too.
Christina Aguilera, or they were into different music to me, and I was singing Killing Heidi and Muse and Pete Murray and Crowded House, so like very lower down the scale. But in my band Fortissima, I'm either singing melody because I have, and I'm using bunny ears, listeners, I have perfect pitch, so I can just, I'm gonna really simplify it, but like if you name any song that I know, I can instantly start singing it to the key. Like it's retained in my brain. If you change the key on a guitar, and let's say it's Crowded House, I really, really struggle to change the key, even though you're playing the music, and I know it's different, and I know I should be playing either singing higher or lower. I really, really struggle to get it out of my brain. It's like it's imprinted on my brain. So it's taken a lot of practice, and I can finally do it. But it's also confidence as well. I was just so like consumed by the original song, and I would learn it off by heart. And pretty much any song that I love, it's just in the back of my brain and taking up a lot of space in the storage shed. So now I can, and I think that's a credit to the girls, because singing in Fortissima, we can't always sing a song in the original key. So I've had to practice, and I've had to be more confident. But I am more confident singing with 3 other girls. So Sophie is a jazz singer. Emma is a soprano. Like she's a I would call her a diva singer, but she's like more soprano. Kirsty's a folk bluesy country singer. And then I would definitely say that my tone and choices of songs would definitely be more rocky, because my style is like imperfect. But those 3 have had training. They've sung in big choirs. They've sung at church. So they've had like years of evolution where they've had to like actually be perfect. And I just did whatever the hell I wanted when I wanted. So,
a lot like,
I don't know how.
Yeah. A lot like Janis Joplin, who we're going to hear from now. This is Someplace Somewhere. We're just talking music, talking events, talking the state of the world address or whatever at the moment, or the regional world address, with Crag and Jamie Lee today. And we're going to leave you with a final choice that JL has brought in today, and it's Tennille McKenzie, which you might not know, but you should. One of my favorites on your selections today. So I assume it's one of your favorites. Why did you bring this one?
I think when you have the opportunity like this, which thank you again, Crag.
No worries.
When you have the opportunity like this, it's really important to share the mic and share the spotlight. And though I can talk underwater all day, every day until I fall asleep in a puddle of my own drool, there's artists that you grow up with, and Tennille and I have been friends for 20 years, that we always say, if my motivation and my, obsessive, like deep commitment to the thing that I'm overly, committed to at the time, like my hyper focus, I should say, mixed in with her musical talent, we'd be unstoppable. And I've always had serious, deep jealousy for Tennille.
Very honest of you.
Yeah, no, we're best friends, and I tell her all the time. She's stunningly beautiful. She writes unbelievable songs. She can play any instrument. She can harmonize. Hey, hey, she can harmonize, but she's a good person, and she deserves the stage, and she deserves to play every big gig. And she's certainly the full package, in my opinion. And I get so disappointed in the whole industry more often than not, because I know there's way too many talented people in the world for them all to be famous. But I just wish just one time it happened to a person that really, really deserved it. And I wish this person was Tennille. And so many of our friends that we grew up with, they've given it a crack, or they've changed jobs, or they've stopped playing music altogether, or whatever. But Tennille is still writing songs. She's still recording. She's still playing gigs. And I just respect that. And we had a really big D&M the other day, and she said, I don't do it for anybody else. I can't live unless I'm writing and making and creating. She's like, I can't breathe. It's not, I don't have a choice. She just said, she's like, if nobody even hears the songs, I don't care. I just have to write them down. And I was just like, far out. It's not fair that it's not even fair that they flow out of her, but that is her art. That is her practice. So, I love her and respect her, and will be jealous until the day I die. But I will also do anything I can to give her gigs, support her in what she's doing, push her, motivate her, and get her played on the radio.
Well, the proof is in the pudding, and you're going to hear that now. Thank you so much for your time today. We've had a good old yarn, and yeah, hope to see you in person uh,
I would definitely
sometime
be making my
soon.
way over to the Big C.
The Big C, is that what they call it? And the little S. Sorry, throwing shade on Shep. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, I shall yeah, look forward to seeing you. Maybe I'll come to the Big S because I haven't been there in a
The
while.
3630.
Yeah, 3630. That'll be good. Anyway, this has been Crag and my guest Jamie Lee today on Someplace Somewhere.